What's up, you guys? Intempus here with a quick tutorial for you. I was asked in the comments of the Grammatic Remix recap video about a particular sound that I made in that remix. So I wanted to show you guys basically how I made that sound and why I think it's a really neat and useful production tool, especially if you're making electronic music, to create interest in your tracks, to create some movement. So I'll show you guys the sound, I'll show you guys in context of the song, and I'll kind of explain that idea of adding some interest in your track after that. So let me show you the sound first. So if we open up this music bus, this session is the actual mix session that I had for this remix. So as you can see, I just have the audio of the sound. I committed it to audio, so I don't have the actual synth that I made for this track, but I remember how to make it. So I'll recreate it for you guys and show you guys what I did. So here's the sound. It's this wop sound. That's what it sounds like to me. So I just went with it. Here's what it sounds. I'll play it solo and then I'll play it in the track for you guys. So here's what it's sounding like. Okay, so that's one. And then there's a slight variation on this second part right here. And then to show you really, like, you can really start getting some unique sounds with this technique. A little farther into the song, I have this variation. So you can hear that really, like, that push-pull kind of tone. And in this second variation, you can hear this kind of chirping sound that's coming from the synth. So it's all basically just utilizing this one production technique. I'll show that to you guys in a second. I'll just show you kind of in context of the song what this sound is actually doing. I'm going to skip forward a little bit so you can hear that second variation. Okay, so I think you guys can get the idea. That sound, I mean, in context of this song, the sound is acting as kind of a filler sound. It needed to fill this gap in the music in order to move the track along. So it also still had to be expressive and be able to move the song along. So I decided to do that by adding this movement to that sound. Once you guys know what it is, it's going to be a very, like, for most people who are familiar with this dubstep kind of way synths can be used, it'll be kind of like an aha moment for some. So really, this technique is just it's a tweak of a kind of standard dubstep technique, which is modulating the rate of an LFO that's affecting the frequency cutoff of a filter. So it's easier visually than it is to talk about it. So I'll show you guys how I made this song and what technique I'm talking about. So I have this MIDI track right here, and I have the sound basically as my own preset right here in this folder. So I'm going to bring that up, that wop sound. But I don't have the routing, and that's the most important part, because you can create this sound with any type of synthesizer. I'm using Massive, but you can use really any synthesizer as long as you know the routing, and you can use this technique on any sound, on any type of sounding synth, I guess you could say. Anyways, let me show you the routing. So if you're not familiar with Massive, basically I'll give you a quick rundown. So you have these LFOs here, which you can also program to be a performer or a stepper or things like that. But for the context of this video, this 5 LFO is being routed right here to the frequency cutoff of this low pass filter. It's also routed to the resonance of this low pass filter, but this doesn't really have to be there. That was just a personal thing for taste. But the main thing is having this LFO on the frequency cutoff of the low pass filter here. So I mentioned that this is kind of a spin off of the kind of traditional dubstep way of making these wobbles, but a traditional dubstep thing, I guess you could say, is kind of doing like an eighth note pattern and then maybe modulating it to like a 16th note or something like that. And yeah, this ratio right here, it's 1/8, so that would be an eighth note. 1/16 would be a 16th note. But basically, the way to create this synth that I made in this remix was just turn off the sync. So basically, when sync is on, it's going to the timing of the track in certain note lengths, like quarter notes, half notes, eighth notes, 16th notes, etc. But having the sync turned off, now you're modulating the frequency, or now the rate has become kind of more, I guess you could think about it as fine-tuned, so you have more control over the timing. I mean, of course, having it in sync is really useful, obviously, especially when you're doing like bass wobbles and things like that. But for the purposes of what I made the sound for as an expressive kind of filler synth, I took off that sync, and you can tell if you just modulate this rate, you'll start to create these really interesting sounds. So without modulating it first, it's just a static constant wobble at a certain rate. But you want to really modulate this, and you'll start to get some really interesting push-pull patterns. So that's the sound, really. I mean, it's really just tweaking that idea of a modulated LFO, just tweaking the rate, modulating the rate, and you can automate that sound. You know, you can record something really quickly. And you can have this automation that now you can use for, you know, maybe additional sound design, or keep it as an expressive synth. So you can create some really, really interesting patterns with this. And to take it even a step further, to show you what I did with this resonance right here, you can also modulate this resonance also to kind of create that chirping sound that you heard earlier. I mean, that tonality right there is much better. I really like that. That's actually really cool. But you can create some really, really, really interesting sonic textures and sonic sounds with this technique. So I do this a lot just to do some really interesting sound design and things like that. But that's really it, guys. I mean, that's the way that I made that specific sound in the Grammatic remix. I think I covered what I wanted to cover. So a big shout out to the homie who asked for this video. I hope it helped out. If not, let me know if there's anything else I should touch on. If there's anything else that you guys want to see as far as tutorials or anything like that, or have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments. If this video helped you, go ahead and hit the like button, man. That would help me a lot. And subscribe to the YouTube channel too. Let me know if there's anything else you guys want to see. Again, I hope this video helped you guys. kind of get an idea or at least some inspiration on a new production technique. Either way, thank you guys for watching. My name's Intempus. We'll see you guys.